Hey Reggie, how are you?
How are you?
Laura, how are you?
Earls, take your seat. I will call the Woodstock Town Board meeting, the business meeting for January 24th to order. We did not go into executive session. The applicant was out of town, but we'll try and do either Zoom at the next meeting, which will be February 14th, or he's back in town in March. So one or the other, and I'll keep you posted. I do want to remind the public, I find it rude to be on the cell phone, but I do text back and forth with Melanie, who's running the meeting on screen instead of shouting out loud. So if you do see me looking at my phone, it's because we're going back and forth a little bit. With that, the floor is yours. Housing Committee, come up and tell us what's going on.
Great. Susan starting.
Okay. Susan.
I will start, and I'm just going to start with something a little aside because I usually, put on nice clothes for a town board meeting, but I want to highlight my new Jogger John t-shirt just to do a little promotional merchandising. I think it's a good cause, and they're great designs, all local. So that was
Where do you get them, Susan?
Urena. Where do they get them?
I'll help you out online.
Okay.
You can go to the Jogger John pages, it's pinned to the top.
On
One direction you can get some money out.
the pages on.
And there's hats too.
Okay.
So, but there you go. And hoodies, jackets, you name it. But
Very
the
nice.
the
How about you?
design is quite wonderful.
It's from Electric Hollis.
Can you have a boots?
That aside,
Not yet.
Not yet. Good idea.
this is our year-end report, a little bit late, but circumstances change. And before I start the formal report, I want to take the opportunity to note that this is the end of Kirk Ritchie's tenure as my co-chair, our co-chair for the Housing Committee, and welcome Catherine Teagan, who'll be doing the lion's share of the report tonight, really, if she's there in person. And I just wanted to reflect on the journey of the committee since we began in 2019. We've had a great partnership, Kirk and I. We often hear that our committee is productive, efficient, and focused, and that's in no small part due to Kirk's leadership from the very beginning. He and I got together a process we thought would help us build a true team. We gathered members, fostered ground rules, and helped every member find his or her voice. That didn't mean that we didn't have conflict and disagreement, but we managed these with as much openness as we thought possible. And we got to know each other's strengths and needs. We took the first year to educate ourselves, which was an effort championed by Kirk. And that helped all of us to slow down and to really open our minds to opportunities that we might have missed. There's a lot of work going on in the country around housing, and there was a lot to learn. Kirk modeled leadership by regularly checking in with members, making sure people were, getting issues addressed in a straightforward way. We gained and lost members, but we've had a consistent core since the beginning, and we have a work product of which we are all proud, and our progress has made us a leader in the county among smaller towns when it comes to housing issues. In the course of our tenure as co-chairs, Kirk assumed leadership of the Woodstock Housing Alliance, an effort our committee sees as crucial to creating lasting change. It's one of our model strategies. We know that his leadership is a good fit for that role, and that it will take much of his time to implement this outstanding new housing organization. I look forward to working with Catherine as I did with Kirk, and it will be different. I believe that this is another piece of our committee's process that is good committee practice, finding members who are able to rotate into a chair position over time, and I hope to be able to replace myself before too long. I would like to make this formal appreciation for all that Kirk Ritchie has brought to the community's efforts to create needed homes for Woodstockers, beginning with his leadership of the comprehensive plan process and continuing to this day on multiple fronts. I wanted to take this opportunity to officially thank Kirk for all of his efforts. And now we will move on to the committee's report, which is focused on the activities from 2022, but also some broader brushstrokes about our longer term goals, because some people aren't as familiar with our history as others. This is our 4th town board annual report, and we hope it captures both the enormity of changes this small group has set in motion and lay out the urgency of continuing to move forward with speed and with resources. The town has continued to lose full-time residents who work at local businesses. Our school enrollment continues to drop, and our population continues to age. A large percentage of those in the village who are over 65 live on less than 200% of the poverty level. That is, they live on less than $21,000 a year. According to the county's Housing Action Plan, almost 30% of Woodstock's renters spend 1/3 to 1/2 of their income on housing costs, and that is not sustainable. Homeowners are cost burdened as well, a fact which both will further erode the full-time population of residents and the quality of our housing stock, as people cannot afford to keep their houses up. The committee reflects the perception of many in our community that this drain must end, and that ending it requires serious and sustained efforts. Towns all over the country that have been working at this longer than Woodstock and with more resources have shown that improvement is possible, even though the economic pressures and the real estate market and now the increased cost of building are creating negative impact on housing options. But we are catching up in Woodstock. HomeShare Woodstock has its first 2 HomeShare matches, and the Woodstock Housing Alliance, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that will develop housing, has been launched. Revised zoning for housing is imminent, and the county is fully behind our efforts. We thank the supervisor and board members for ongoing support for our initiatives and greatly appreciate the vote of confidence in Families HomeShare Woodstock implementation and for joining the county's Housing Smart Communities initiative. We look forward to action on the remaining 2 housing-related American Rescue Plan fund requests. We hope this happens early in 2023. We cannot stress this strongly enough, as these will allow critical infrastructure development before the spring building season is upon us. Here we're referring to both the infrastructure supports for evaluating building on town-owned land and the Woodstock Housing Alliance proposal to support accessory dwelling units. And the Woodstock Housing Alliance is also currently in discussion over a collaboration with HomeShare Woodstock, in which a portion of the loan funds requested would support selected homeowners whose homes need small renovations to enable them to join HomeShare Woodstock as home providers. So again, we can't stress how important it is to get these 2 ARP requests attended to now. We promise to continue making the case for the actions we believe will bring this community toward the goals stated in the 2018 comprehensive plan. And Catherine, who is there in the room, has more of the detail on our 2022 activities.
Hi, everyone. Be a little bit repetitive of what Susan just said, but maybe a little more detail too. So I'm going to summarize the main points of the handouts that I think we're distributing today, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't think there's any, I think we can distribute them. So it's fine. Yeah, there's a report and the timeline and the survey. We were going to do that.
Oh, at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
In any case, the Housing Committee has been working hard this past year to define one of the broad missions of the comprehensive plan as stated here. In order to achieve the values of economic and environmental sustainability, the town will affirmatively promote and foster affordable housing in Woodstock. How have we been doing this? The Housing Committee has been creating permanent avenues to housing initiatives such as Home Share Woodstock, which you're all familiar with, which was officially launched at Family of Woodstock in March 2022. This past December, the program signed its first match agreement. A local employee and artist has been returned to the community, paying a modest rent, and the elder home provider will benefit from various home tasks and ongoing transportation and shopping assistance. And this month, Home Share signed its second agreement. So congrats to all who have been working on this incredible program. We took a big step forward with the launch of the Woodstock Housing Alliance last year, a nonprofit 501c3 corporation with the mission to develop homes and manage affordable rental and home ownership alternatives for community members. The website for the Alliance is up and fundraising efforts are underway. The Alliance is targeting the creation of 25 permanently affordable rentals in the next 2 years. And as you also know, the Housing Oversight Task Force has been working long hours this past year to draft housing code revisions for adoption by the town into the town zoning law. The revisions support best practices adapted for our particular community size and needs, and will support the creation of new housing affordable to those in our community who desperately need it. Housing Committee has also been working on facilitation of the creation of new and refurbished sustainable homes. Fundamental to this effort are the 2 ARP fund proposals, which Susan has already spoken about. We drafted those last year, and one request is for site evaluation and development of town-owned property. The second request is to use ARP funds for a loan fund for the creation of accessory dwelling units or adaptation of homes to increase the potential for home sharing. The town board's approval of the distribution of these funds, as Susan has already said, is crucial to our efforts. The Housing Committee will also be revisiting the potential for refurbishment of abandoned properties in Woodstock. We had explored this option in the first year of the committee's work and plan to take a look at these opportunities again. Another piece of good news in 2022 was the launch of Ulster County's Housing Smart Communities Initiative. Woodstock was the first rural community to join the initiative, thanks to the town board's passage of the resolution to join Ulster County in this effort. Thank you so much. We are currently discussing the use of housing smart funds to hire consultants who can help us with the development of a housing plan, as well as messaging and outreach to our community. And so in 2023, we will be focusing on the creation of a housing plan. We need to create a detailed picture of Woodstock's demographics and current housing inventory. Feedback on housing types and sizes desired by Woodstockers will be incorporated, as well as specific strategies. We're looking forward to working with Kai Lord Farmer and the consultants from the Housing Smart Initiative on this. Lastly, we know these are big goals and we urgently need more committee members to achieve them. We appreciate the town board's timely approval of new candidates to the Housing Committee. And I'm very grateful for the time and energy the members of the Housing Committee put into this work on a daily basis. Huge thanks to Susan, Kirk, Deborah, and Lorraine. And I look forward to working with all of you in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. First off, Kirk, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I was quite far along here, the entire committee. You guys have been doing a fantastic job. I'm excited about what's coming down the pike and look forward to continuing. I'm ready to move forward, not tonight with the resolution, but in our next meeting, the 14th. I know a few of you may have had some questions. I hope you've gotten them answered, and if not, we could have any outstanding issues worked out before then.
We need for the ARP funds.
Yes, sorry, for the ARP funds, for the other two key components. So,
And I did have a quick question, and that is what committee size are you hoping for? You said you're looking for additional members. Do you have a
We're
target
looking
size?
for 2 more members, but we may need another member as well.
An
So,
additional, so 2 to
That's how
3.
yeah.
it works.
So you're looking for 2 or 3.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
and we have one applicant that we're hoping you'll interview in a couple weeks, and then we have another person that.
Oh,
will be-
yes, yes,
The committee is interviewed tomorrow night, actually.
yeah.
So hopefully we
okay.
have 2.
And I saw the resume for the first person, and
Yeah.
it looked very
I think
promising.
it'll be great.
And I also want to, I think the committee's done a great job. You know, I work with Deborah all the time. I work with Kirk all the time. I work with Kirk on the comprehensive plan and on the housing task force. I work with Deborah on the housing task force. And I know Lorraine has been wonderfully passionate about the housing topic.
Pestering you.
But in a positive, healthy way. And Susan, of course, has been fabulous. So I just want to share my thank you for everybody. The core group, and Catherine, I'm not sure when you joined, but everybody else is part of
2
it.
years ago.
Yeah, so everybody else is, so you're a newbie then.
I'm
Because
a
it-
newbie.
She's a happy. Almost 4 years. She's been in her house.
Yeah, right there you go. So
Longest newbie ever.
so I wonder, a wonderful team for anybody who joins, they're joining a wonderful team.
Yeah.
And thank you for all you've done.
Quickly, thank you, Kirk, for everything you give and you continue to give to our town. And thank you to all of you for all the work that you're doing. It's really going to make a positive impact on lives of people and on this town. And so just thank you for giving that, volunteering, giving your time, digging deep into the issue and coming up with great options and solutions for us. Thank you.
you know, I'll also just point out, Kirk, you led the effort for the comprehensive plan. It took us 56 years to get one adopted. And these committees have all been born out of that. So we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you and good luck with the 50.
It's been a great
Yeah.
pleasure.
So, Bennett, Marielena, any comments,
Can I say
questions?
something, like just to
Could
add,
I
I just want to mention that Kurt's.
go right ahead?
Say it again. I didn't.
I just want to say, just an extra, like, Kirk really kind of, you know, everybody agreed, but we always talk about everything, but he really kind of pushed us to do the research from the beginning. We spent 9 to 11 months just researching, following leads, and then discussing those and see what, you know, where they took us.
So he did the
Sorry
same
to
thing with the
interrupt.
comp plan, and that's
Absolutely,
why we
yeah.
got a great document. So,
Yeah,
Bennett?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for your service to Woodstock and specifically your passion for innovative ways to bring affordable housing to the community. I think it's necessary to not look at one thing as the silver bullet, because I think that it's clear that we need to be doing home share, we need to be doing accessory dwelling units, we need to be doing other land bank, we need to be, I think the town actually needs to be building affordable housing itself. And I think that what you're doing is bringing us right to the pathway of leading the rest of the county. And I wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you.
So we'll all be able to vote on the remaining ARP funding on the 14th. We can all get our questions answered and resolved.
But it's in a good direction. I know we talked about the amount, there's the amount that's left and the amount that, I know some people don't like it when I say this, but are we gonna keep 20,000 back in case we need it for some other emergency, because we can be spending the funds for the next several years, and to use it all up immediately, you know, I know I've said, can we keep 20,000 back in case we have another emergency? So I didn't know if we were to discuss amounts and holding anything back or which?
I think over between now and the 14th, we should
We'll figure it
discuss that all.
Yeah, okay. And I'm all
come
for
up with
it.
some.
I have some questions that I'll bring forward and I will be happy to share them with all of you at that time and ask them of different people on the committee. But
On the 14th, or
I can do it tomorrow. if you
Okay,
like.
yes, great. All right then. Hope to have some resolutions on the 14th then. With that, I'm
Yes,
going to go into.
Bill, if I could just say that if there are questions coming to the committee, it would be really helpful to have them, as soon as possible, so we can
Email, yeah.
work on that.
Patty, you'll be able to email in the next day or two?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely will send you an email.
Great, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to go into some resolutions then. Be it resolved to accept minutes for meetings held on December 30th, January 10th, 2023, and January 19th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to accept the town clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Be resolved to authorize payment of audited vouchers in the amount of $1,735,049.77.
Second for the purpose of discussion.
Discuss.
I just think it's really unnecessary for the town of Woodstock to spend $325,000 to purchase a leaf sweeper. We should have tried other ways to share this cost of $325,000 for one piece of equipment. I know that we have done that in the past, and I know that this is just signing a voucher and it's already been authorized and it's already been purchased and paid for. But I just feel like sending $325,000 out the door for one piece of equipment that we're going to be using all to ourselves is not a good use of the tax dollars.
Okay. It is a piece of equipment that'll last us 30 years. So it will be amortized over a great number of years. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
But I think, and we discussed this, Bill, as well, is that you also mentioned there's a limited window when it's going to be used,
Mhm.
and all the towns want to sweep their roads at the same time.
Correct.
So whereas the highway department does share equipment a lot of times, but this doesn't lend itself as much to that because of that, and it was in the budget that we passed.
Yeah, we did add this as a specific line in the budget. Also, we did have a sweeper that we shared between 4 communities, and it was a good attempt to do that. It was not successful because of that limited window. So,
I guess I feel like I'm a bit disappointed that we spend all that money on a street sweeper, but there was no money for a dishwasher for the community center.
there is a dishwasher over there, Maria.
We didn't pay
It's
for it.
there,
No, I'm saying we didn't.
but
pay
it's
for it.
there.
We didn't pay for it,
Okay.
is the point. And I just one other thing to add.
Why did you vote
We
for it in
didn't-
the
we
budget
didn't
then?
pay- We didn't pay for the safety stairs for Halloween. It's like, these are.
That's not a
nominal
town
amounts.
program. Halloween isn't, it's a private.
I'm just saying I'm disappointed
Okay.
that you're willing to spend
Okay.
hundreds of thousands of dollars on a piece of
Well,
equipment.
I'd like to.
And.
I'd like to vote no on the vouchers.
Okay,
I'd like,
Maria Elena, you gonna vote no too?
Yeah.
Okay,
and I would like to respond one thing. One thing I always appreciate about Supervisor McKenna is he is always trying to find ways where possible to save money for the town. So if a dishwasher can be in the community center and the town not pay for it, if there's a donor of it, I'm certainly all in favor of that. So I don't see it as being either or. It wasn't worth paying for this. Instead of that, it turned out that the dishwasher was able to arrive with the donor paying for it. And that's to the supervisor's credit, because the supervisor always looks to be careful with the taxpayers' money. And in this case, this is a piece of equipment that will last a lot of years.
The last one didn't.
the last back truck lasted, I believe, 20 years.
Well, if you want to call the vote, I don't know whether.
We did,
Okay, yes.
3-2. Be it resolved to authorize the supervisor to sign the Verizon agreements.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be it resolved to amend resolution 244-2022 to local law number 1/2023 relating to senior income limits.
Second for the purpose of discussion.
Discuss?
Could you explain exactly why we're changing the title?
Yes, Jackie may weigh in on this as well, but the law was adopted last year. It's a resolution to amend our local law. The Department of State, however, because of the postmark being when they received it, 2023, wanted it to be listed as a local law in 2023.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, were we gonna, I did see Iris, I don't know whether we need a resolution to alter her end date on the ethics board. I know
All right, so
Iris-
We can
2020.
be it resolved to amend the resolution appointing Iris to read 12/20/31/25.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is Iris smiling? Where's Iris? The
Yes,
penguin
yes.
is smiling.
I'm here, but my camera broke and it's done. So all you see is my chin strap penguin when I was in Antarctica.
Oh, Antarctica, yay.
All right, next up, council member updates. Reggie?
I'm in for tonight.
Okay. Laura?
I always have a couple of things. Very active in the Housing Oversight Task Force. We continue moving along with great pace and speed. Well, I guess not necessarily speed, but thoroughness. We're definitely being thorough. So we don't know when you're gonna see it next, but we're getting close. I will say the zoning revision committee, now that delighted, of course, that last month this board did pass the telecommunications law and the water protection law. The zoning revision committee is heavily focused on the scenic overlay update that we're hoping to pass around, hopefully next month sometime, for this board to take a look at some of the things that that the zoning revision committee thinks can be improved in the scenic overlay area.
Fantastic.
The other thought is Terramore. I continue to, what do you want to say?
No,
something?
go ahead.
Okay, so I continue to work as hard as I can on trying to find legal ways to help enlighten everybody as to the errors with it, the problems with it. I did speak a week ago at the Saugerties Planning Board meeting. So I had my 2-page statement. I thank Bill, you and Reggie, you for weighing in, helping tidy it up a little bit. And I did give it to the Saugerties Planning Board. Good applause throughout, good applause at the end of the statement. They were very happy to hear us say that we do oppose Terramore. We do ask that the Saugerties Planning Board do deny the SUP. And the statement did point out Saugerties' own law, because New York State is a home rule state, and because the project is in Saugerties, we do have some limitations to what we can do based on Woodstock's laws. However, I did quote, and I did a lot of research on Saugerties law. The Saugerties, what is the mission of the planning board? What is the Saugerties special use permit process? I researched, and both of those things point to the comprehensive plan. I researched that. I researched what is supposed to be in an MDR district. And all those things point to this doesn't belong. And that was the statement. So I hope it resonates long-term. What I did most recently is I did talk to the DEC today. So because we're hoping that we can say, hey, the DEC can help stop what's going on. And what the contact I spoke with, who was the person assigned to it, had said, he said a couple of things. One thing is, in fact, there are no DEC recognized wetlands on the property. And he did say that they did I'm just going to my notes for just a second here. He did say that they have a pre-application, and what the pre-application is then for them, the DEC to say to the applicant, what do they need to give? The permits that are relevant in the DEC's eyes, something about an Article 15, protection of waters because of the stream. And then there's that water discharge, they call it a SPDES, SPDES, a permit. So the 2 permits that will be required, and then it'll be up to us to watch a website. He told me the website to watch when those permits are given, because there's only a 15-day turnaround to go fight those, to go weigh in on the permits. So they are requesting 2 permits. They can't take any action now because they have no permits to take action on. The only action to take so far was telling the applicant what permits are needed. But right now they're on a hold mode until they get those.
So the applications haven't come in yet.
So the permit applications have not come in yet. So I am on it. I will continue to work as hard as I can in finding legal ways to fight it and share information as I have it, and looking at all the course. I was told by somebody that the Army Corps of Engineers, I never got.
I do have it. That's what I.
Oh, good. So I'll let you talk to that, because I did not, even though I left messages, I did not get any call back. yet.
Well, I've had some back and forth, mostly just messages, but I do have a contact there, and I'm trying to arrange a phone conversation
Excellent.
between the three of us.
Oh, perfect.
So I'll keep you posted on
Now,
that.
now, the other thing I will say is Judy Kerman, who is wonderful, as we all know, at mapping, she did map, and Bennett, I know you've been working on this. I only made 3 copies, so I was trying to save paper, but it's the proposed Terramore project, and she did look for environmental points of interest on here that she's mapped out. You know, the Woodstock wetlands are there, but of course, Saugerties didn't map out, Sunny didn't map out Saugerties wetlands, so she doesn't have that, but there's a map of interest. Yeah, you can hang on to it.
I can keep this copy? Okay.
Yeah, you can keep that copy, that's good. So you can take a peek if you like. What's that?
If you want to email it.
Wait, I could email it. Do everybody want me to email it?
Yeah, perfect.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I will do so.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay, there you go.
Bennett?
The Woodstock Land Conservancy. In December, I walked the Camo property with Land Conservancy and representatives also from the Camo Stewardship Advisory Committee and the Tree Committee. And this is part of the Land Conservancy's responsibilities under the easement. A number of issues were identified. One issue was that the trail currently crosses into private property, and the Land Conservancy and the Stewardship Advisory Committee are working with a representative of the private property owner to find a way to move the trail. A second issue is that there are encroachments by several neighbors' fences into the Camo property, and these property owners, some have been contacted, others are being contacted to resolve these issues. Third, a white pine disease has been identified in Woodstock, and it appears that there are several trees in the Camo Park that may have this disease. The tree committee is pursuing solutions with the Cornell Cooperative Extension Service to find out more about the disease and if it is treatable, how. Fourth, there were several dead trees that were identified across the trails by the CSAC, and they worked with the town maintenance to have those removed. Those were safety and health issues. I'm really pleased to see the Land Conservancy and CSAC and the Tree Committee and maintenance collaborating on all of these issues. Also concerning the Tree Committee, I'm pleased to report that the Tree Committee is working to contact property owners along Tinker Street and find homes for planting new trees in the spring. In addition, the Tree Committee application for Tree City was accepted and approved for the 7th year in a row. The Chamber of Arts and Commerce is working with Fire Company Number 1 and is going to be hosting a chili cook-off on April the 15th. And there will be more details to follow, and I'm sure that they will be both spicy and mild.
I bet there'll even be a vegan option.
There will be a vegetarian option. I'm not sure if it will be vegan.
Vegan, okay.
The Onteora Schools District has convened an ad hoc committee on long-term planning. I was asked to participate in 3 discussion sessions that this committee is holding. As you may remember, a consultant studied the district's capacity, its facilities, and its enrollment trends, and presented a report 1 month before COVID closed in-person schooling. This committee is going to relook at the possibility of closing or consolidating or moving some of the schools, including Woodstock Elementary. The first meeting is next week, and I will report back as this committee continues. For public access TV, we did some research and we found that the TV station can apply and should become a member of the Alliance for Community Media. It's an educational advocacy organization which represents public education and government access TV, cable TV organizations and media centers throughout the country. We're putting together an application, and we think that info sharing with these public access stations will be of tremendous value to helping to upgrade and enliven the station. Finally, I attended the Environmental Commission's most recent meeting and listened as the WEC clearly stated that the town of Woodstock can and should send a letter to Terramore KOA requesting that they apply the wetlands permit. This is the same conclusion that the chair of the Citizens Against Terramore sent to me today in the form of an attorney's opinion. The town can and should notice Terramore of Woodstock's wetlands law and the alteration that the wetlands that are recognized by the town of Woodstock in the Natural Resources Inventory of 2020 being in Woodstock, and Terramore should comply with this.
Just to touch on one comment you made, then at the encroachments on the Como. So there were 3 encroachments, 2 fences, and the other was a hot tub and a few other items. The hot tub, all 3 neighbors have been contacted. The hot tub and that other items have been removed, and the owner is now aware of where the line is. The second encroachment is an old fence. It's been there 25, 30 years. We believe that it's not on the Como, but we are looking into that, and I'm getting a price from the town's engineer / surveyor to come up with a cost, and the same for the third. That fence, I'm pretty sure, is on town property. It's a new fence, and that owner is going to pay for the survey and move that fence back in the spring. So thank you for that. Maria Elena?
Bennett and I did a pre-inspection of the community center for the senior lunch program. We'll be finishing up any work that needs to happen there before an inspection. We're in the process of getting a microwave, and I will be coordinating with Susan Copenhaver from Office of the Aging to coordinate an inspection date with the Department of Health. With Home Share, we're currently working on placing a second home seeker within our program, as was previously mentioned. We're working on funding opportunities, and we'll be sending out our second newsletter. We're also planning for 2023 education series and outreach programs.
Okay, thank you very much. So before I go to public be heard, two quick things. One, again, I'll remind you all, let's get any questions, concerns regarding the ARP answered sooner rather than later. Reach out to the board and reach out to the housing committee. And the other item is that we have the STR amendments on the table. I haven't heard back from anybody yet, but I'd like to hear back from the board in the next week or two so that we can put that on the agenda again for the 14th to discuss how we might want to move forward with those regulations. So with that, is there anybody in the audience here that wants 2 minutes for public be heard? Everybody good?
Just speaking there itself, not as part of any media. I don't know about the sweeper, how good it is, how great it is, how much it's needed or not. But you know, there are some things, including the TV station, that could use funds, and also for housing and things like that. And I also have a question with regard to the tree committee planting trees on Tinker Street. I think it's a good thing. However, within the next several years, as you know, there's going to be a lot of highway work on Tinker Street and bridge replacements. I'm wondering how that affects trees that are planted or if they'll be endangered.
That needs to be carefully coordinated. And I do know that part of the plan is to provide planting wells, areas along the right of way where they're not going to be planting trees, but trees will be able to be planted there after the construction.
But you raise a good point,
Yeah.
that planting the trees before all the tear up
Shouldn't happen.
shouldn't happen.
So Felicia, the committee met at 5 o'clock today, and one of the discussions was which areas that are not going to be part of the construction could be identified. And those are areas from 375 to Rock City Road, which is not going to be in the construction zone. And in addition to, as the supervisor pointed out, that tree wells could be identified as places, but trees not actually be planted. Yes,
The Village Green, there may be room in the Village Green, and while they will be doing some paving, there shouldn't be heavy construction there. The other thing is that everything west of Schoonmaker Lane is fair game for trees. So, Urena? No?
Do I have to stand?
Yeah, come on.
Stand. All right, 2 questions. I just have questions. Well, first one, Jogger John, we've said the green. I gave you that list from the event.
Mhm.
Is there a group now? Are they?
Not yet, but at
Some
the end of
commitment there?
February, I've told everybody we're going to reach out to those
Okay, great.
and have a meeting.
Okay, great.
And
I just wanted to
Give-
follow up and
give-
see if that was going on.
it
Okay.
is.
And then I'll just put that, I can maybe put that and let people know.
Yeah.
If they want, do you need more people or do you have enough?
If everybody shows up who's offered, we'll
Okay.
have more
I'll
than
push
enough.
that to them and.
Yeah.
Is there a specific date that you have or?
I haven't picked a
Okay.
date yet. We wanted to get a little closer to
Okay.
the start time of planting
Got it.
and caretaking.
The second question is for Bennett. You said something about, and I've been a teacher, or I was a teacher for 17 years, worked at Ontario. Grew up here, went to Woodstock Elementary. So my question is, in that meeting, I wanted to know a little more information on what you were saying. Talking about, I remember that, it was in the paper, I remember reading it through Ontario that they had hired a consulting firm to go through and figure out, there was a big survey that went out to the community and teachers and staff and everyone about closing down one of the elementary schools. So Woodstock or Phoenicia, or Phoenicia. So I have a question, did they, and I know at that time, and I'm just thinking that potentially because of our research, that there's been a reduction in enrollment. Is it worse? Like, what are the stats now?
so I can tell
Are
you
they talking
that,
about 2 schools or 1?
I can tell you that the report actually was not about closing Woodstock and Phoenicia or Woodstock or Phoenicia. The report was about looking at all the different configurations, including Bennett, Woodstock, and Phoenicia, and a consolidation of middle school into different grade configurations, not just closing one or both of those schools. The report has been sitting there, and this is now, they are retaking the report. So nothing has been lost, no decisions have been made. I think the first thing that they will do, I don't know, I've been asked to be a part of it. I think the first thing that they will do is to relook and decide what is valid in the report, what continues to be valid, and is there anything that's different? Certainly, I would hope that's what they will do. But I do know for a fact that these are what they are calling World Cafe meetings, in which people will give their opinions and listen to other opinions, and that it will take the form of sort of listening and discussion sessions. But I'm happy to give you reports out of each one of them.
So specifically.
Okay, you know what, because this is publicly heard, it's not supposed to be back and forth. So if you want afterwards, I have 3 people now from the online. Michael Henry, 2 minutes.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Wanted to speak a little bit about the Housing Committee's concern for affordable housing in Woodstock, which we in the short-term rental community share and want to make sure that the short-term rental law actually supports that. Right now, it doesn't and has the contrary effect. We want to help distinguish between the problematic short-term rentals, those being operated by investors or flippers or with multi-units or ADUs, from people like represented by our group who are long-term part-time residents. Many of us been living here and renting for decades. We recently went through a list of 120 non-owner occupied permits as of last August. Nearly 20% of them were held by LLCs or other entities. Most of those were not current with New York State. 4 of them weren't even registered with New York State at all. It's impossible to know if more than one owner is owning a person is owning more than one property because the LLC owners aren't identified, but just from the addresses and stuff, it does look like at least some of them are owning multiple houses. At least 10 of the permits were issued for people who bought their homes after the cap was reached in November of 2020 when it was reduced. So while some of us have been waiting on a wait list, other people, new owners are getting them. Most of those are flippers. They're investors. There is one home that was on the market, was sold for $550,000 in March of 2021. It's now on the market for $1.2 million with a short-term rental permit, and it's being listed as income-producing turnkey multi-unit home. And yet that has a short-term rental permit that just got issued. So this is missing the goal of helping to focus short-term rentals on community members and then raising revenue to actually help with the housing committee's issues of affordable housing and discouraging the investors and the flippers.
Thank you, Michael. Next up, Susan. Susan Painter.
Unmute, Susan, unmute.
Okay, first of all, I just want to thank Laura Ricky for her eloquent and powerful speech in front of the Saugerties Planning Board. She really expressed her strong opposition, and the crowd loved her. She was the only person that received multiple applause during her speech. And Laura, I wanted to thank you for continuing your work. I do want to say that the DEC does need to be updated, as does Judy Kerman, because our hydrologist has now mapped 15 acres of wetlands, and those would include now New York State wetlands, so they will need to get involved on that level.
Let's communicate on that. Let's get together on that.
And I also wanted to just say thank you for knowing that we can't stop now, that is, our speeches were good, but they're not enough. And thank you to Bennett Ratcliffe for not giving up and for spearheading our action on the enforcement of our wetland law and also to continue to consider applying to be an involved agency. Our attorney believes that we are entitled to both of those, and she, as a land use and environmental attorney, has reviewed everything that the Association of Towns said. And so I think that what's important is she said we need to apply to be an involved agency quickly because the deadline will pass and we don't want to miss that deadline. So thank you for the work that you've been doing and for supporting our opposition, because we all know that now that we've learned that the Superfund site is nearby, only a half a mile, and there was contamination found on site, and the drawdown of wells could contribute to water contamination in Woodstock wells. We also know that the wastewater discharge will affect our water supply and will also affect the synagogue. And we know that there is fire risk and security risk with 240 strangers a day living next door to our neighborhoods without fencing to protect them.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Next up, Lisa Kolish.
Hi there. I just want to build on Michael's words and also something that Bennett said. I want to reiterate this important, critical, essential distinction between the different types of people who are seeking STR permits. Some of them are long-term part-time residents, like myself. I've had my house for 45 years, who use our houses much of the year, but from time to time want to rent them out to help pay for expenses. And I'm a contributing member of the community. But there are many permit holders who are just investors and looking to flip it. So the STR law needs to find a way to make that distinction, because those types of STRs are the ones that are hurting the affordable housing market. Those are properties that could, in fact, be long-term rentals for people. And also building on something that Bennett said, is we want to have as many housing initiatives as possible. Find the STR owners in Woodstock that have ADUs on their properties. That may not, not investors, but people who have a legitimate ADU on their property that's renting it out short term. Give them a subsidy to turn it into a long-term rental. And we can use the permit fees which should go up to subsidize those ADUs for affordable housing. And this is just one creative way, and there probably are other ways that we, the short-term rental owners that care about Woodstock, can help you find ways to really collaborate and make a difference for the affordable housing issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. One of the things I will say that we've talked about, Deborah and I have talked about, in Perth, is the possibility of a property tax incentive for people who create affordable housing. So these are things that we are taking a look at now. That's our 5 members of the public be heard. So with that, I'll call for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Have a nice evening, everybody. Thank you, Melanie. Have a good evening. Thank you, Susan.
You too, thank you.
Okay, just a couple of questions, and I still got this